Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Welcome back to One Mic, the Delvin Cox Experience and Daily DVR's deep dive into Loki. My name is Axel. You can find out more about my pods at dvrpodcast.com. And with me, of course, are Mike and Delvin. And today we have a fourth. Andy is here to talk to us about not only Loki episode 5, but we're going to throw in a little Black Widow, which we all saw. We're going to talk a little bit about our brackets, MCU brackets that we've been doing on our Facebook page. We're going to say hello to everyone in a second, but first, let me say the stuff I say in the beginning of the show. Today, we're going to be talking about season 1, episode 5, entitled Journey into Mystery, directed by Kate Herron and written by Tom Kaufman. Again, a Rick and Morty community, Uncle Grandpa, Michael Waldron kind of bringing him over into this. And actually, this dude, Tom Kaufman, is kind of interesting. If you look up his IMDb, he spent a really long time making internet and viral videos. So he has a real eye for a lot of the fan service stuff, because this episode could have been called Journey into Fan Service. But you can kind of tell by the way he wrote this, it was a lot of stuff that was in there. Once again, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, give us a like, subscribe, give us a review. And I want to give a special shout out to Cufflinks, the sponsor for Daily DVR. They are awesome. Also, check out Mike's instant reaction to this episode. And once again, go back and listen to last week's episode of the Delvin Cox Experience, because you got the touch and you got the power, baby. This episode began. All right, I'm going to say hi to everybody. So first, Andy. How you doing, Andy?
I am doing good, and I needed to get on before the end of the season because you guys have been taking random pot shots at Tim Hines. I didn't want to feel left out, so it's very fun to be here.
Yep. Well, Timothy, I was talking to him last night. He was playing his house music at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and what a guy he is. Bow on the toes. All right, what up, Delvin?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing great. And Mike, how are you, my friend?
And unbelievably tired. But otherwise good, ready to talk great about this episode. And I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts on Black Widow, because I've been seeing a whole lot of interesting opinions on it. It seems like everybody it's like the fandom is either they absolutely loved it or they are putting it near the bottom of their rankings, and there's like no in between. So I'm like wondering where everybody else fell on that. If everybody here is going to be a super big fan or didn't like it, or if any of us are going to be like, it was cool, like put it around the middle. Just curious.
Yeah, I'm too. And we will chat about that. But first, let's dive into some Loki, baby. First thing I got to say is Titus Welliver was amazing in this episode, starring as the smoke monster from Lost. That's a shout out to Glenn, who gave me that. I just burned it. It's over. That's all the funny I've got, and it wasn't even that.
We got our weekly Lost reference out there.
All right.
I was kind of surprised we didn't see Desmond in the hatch either, actually, because there was tons of Lost references in this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just going to start out. I like this episode. It was super fun. The scenes with all the Lokis, President Loki. I just thought a lot of in the time in the void, Owen Wilson back, Sylvie in the void. I thought it was super fun. But then when we talked about it before the pod, I sat down, I was like, it was like Mike, you said in your instant reaction, it was almost kind of like it was like a bridge to the finale. And we've come to see, and I wanted to make a statement on this. I'm sorry to keep on talking, but I just want to get this out. I think Marvel does the second to last episode, which we've all come to expect is going to be the big thing, right? Like everyone is always, since Lost and other big streaming shows after, you always think like it's not episode 10, the finale, it's episode 9, right? The big stuff is going to happen. And I think Marvel is subverting that. And they're going back to the old style where the big shit happens in the last episode. And the second to last episode is a little bit kind of just a bridge, like a continuation of the episode before. Like they're doing like the last 3 episodes kind of work together. That's the way I see it. Enjoyed the episode, but didn't feel like it had a ton of really deep shit that we can chat about. But it was a lot of fun fan service stuff.
Yeah, Game of Thrones did that a lot. The opposite though,
Yeah.
like where they would do like episode 9 would have some crazy shit happening, and then episode 10 would be kind of like, all right, let's talk about the fallout from episode 9, and let's work on setting up the next season. Like I think they really only did like crazy finales for like, I think season 6 was a huge finale for them. Season 5 was a huge finale for them, and I think 4 as well. But then, like, I think 3. Well, why are we talking about Game of Thrones? I made the point. like, what am I doing?
I think you're right, though.
I'm like going to start running down every season finale and every episode 9. But yeah, so yeah, Game of Thrones did that. But I kind of I like that a little bit. But I kind of like it how you said Marvel's flipping that. I kind of like the finale being the heavy episode, just because you automatically go in. It's the last episode. You want it to kind of knock your socks off. You don't want to go in thinking like, oh, this is going to be the come down from the previous episode. So I like that they're doing that. But yeah, like I said, it felt like a bridge between episodes 4 and 6. Not a lot to discuss. Just a whole lot of fun and fan service and cool stuff happening.
Andy, Delvin?
I'll go. I think this is the most closest episode of Rick and Morty we've gotten so far in Loki. Like all the Rick and Morty references are there with the multiple Lokis, not liking each other, thinking they're smarter than each other. Then you have the constant references to different things in Marvel in the background that if you blink, you'll miss it. There's a lot of things to like in this episode, but it's the best way to describe this episode, with the exception of, I guess, the ending part of the episode, is pretty much a filler episode with just a lot of references to things in Marvel that we know is silly, fun things. We don't know if any of these references are going to lead into other things in the Marvel universe, but even so, that's fine not knowing that, because this was just more of a fun-filled episode of just crazy stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think you guys are 100% right, where it's not plot heavy episode by any means. It's just kind of hanging out. And when I think back to, I remember the penultimate episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I remember having some complaints about that, because that was when they went back and hung out in the fishing town for a while. And I was like, I got impatient because I'm like, this is the second to last episode. But I think in Loki, it's done a little bit better because it's just more interesting. It's more fun. It kind of gave me a Ragnarok vibe a little with how weird some stuff is and all these background references that you don't get. It seemed fun. I really loved the episode, but like you guys said, there's not a ton of, like when I was trying to make some notes, it's hard to make notes because there isn't really a lot of, it's just kind of a journey to the finale is really what it was. So I still loved it a lot, but I can totally see complaints from people on it if you were expecting a lot of plot.
I will say that I did like the fan service stuff, and all that was really fun. But I have to, I don't have any problems being the dissenting opinion if this just falls on me, because you guys know I don't give a fuck, man. I'll say whatever I feel like, and it doesn't matter. I thought the end was dumb. Like everything involving that smoke monster in the sky, like trying to, like, Loki's like, I'm gonna kill it. She's like, I'm gonna enchant it, and they're like grabbing smoke and. I thought that shit was so dumb. I'm like, man, they didn't even try to make this believable. Like a fucking smoke monster in the sky, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and defeat it. Okay, and then it just dissipates and like opens up, and then the whole idea is like, what's past the? Oh, I'm gonna start ranting, but I'm like, what's past the end of time? Nothing's past the end of time. Like what? I'm sorry, that shit irritated me.
I think I kind of agree with you. I didn't think it was dumb. I thought it was really predictable. Especially when you have, and we'll get to it later on with the other thing, when you have them constantly telling you how all the Lokis have come here and been trying to figure out a way to get out and miserably have failed. Then Loki just says, has there ever been a woman Loki who tried it? Oh no, that might actually work. Like, Like what? Like, okay, I guess that's clearly gonna work now.
I think though there's something I picked up on that, Delvin, and this was one of the few deep things that I thought of, which is and exactly what you said, where he turned and he kept on asking them, "Have you ever met a woman Loki before?" And they were all surprised. Is she the only female Loki? Which makes me believe, and maybe I'm caught up on this for whatever because I'm a podcaster. Is she the original Loki? Like they're all the variants of the Loki, and because she's the only woman. Like, does it work that way or something? Like, is there something the way he said that and what you're saying is I thought the same thing. I thought that was kind of silly, but then I thought, wait, maybe there is something deeper here, but I could be totally wrong.
I think there is. I feel like they said that because she seems like the only one who has not only has empathy and can kind of, while she's a little arrogant, she can see things past herself with reason and logic and figure out things the other Lokis really can't. So in many ways, that kind of makes her the superior quote unquote Loki because she just thinks different than the other Lokis. Whereas our Loki that we know is like, hey, let's just kill this creature and be done with it. She was kind of like, no, that's a dumb idea. Let's figure out if we can get this creature's mind and figure out what's exactly going on here so we can overcome it and get to our real mission and goal at hand. And I think that's kind of the difference between her and the other Lokis in terms of that factor. Because all those Lokis' whole idea has always been, let's kill this monster or conquer it or take it over to use to our advantage. She was like, no, we don't have to kill it. Let's find out what makes it tick to get to what we need, our goal at hand. I think that's kind of the biggest difference.
Interesting. She is different. I mean, I have to agree with Mike in the sense that I found the end to be it's like when you're watching a movie and you feel like they're kind of going through the motions of they were in the script room, they're in the writer's room and they're like, well, they have to defeat the creature somehow. You know what I mean? And like you're saying, Mike, like they're like, let's get this big smoke. Like it did seem so esoteric, almost to be bordering on like direct metaphor or something like that, So that's kind of the way that I took it. That what Delvin said, it more so for me was about the methodology that then she chose to use, the enchantment type stuff. And there was one interesting thing which an article I read picked up on, which said that when they were talking about when they create the fake versions of Asgard, when not only classic Loki, but the way that Sylvie was trying to enchant the creature was very similar to what we saw in WandaVision. And the way that Wanda enchanted that whole town, and the way the TVA is enchanted. So I don't know. I just want to throw that out there that I thought that was at least an interesting kind of parallel idea here, that we've watched two shows where whole groups of people are brainwashed into thinking that they're doing, that they're living a life that they're not. I hadn't thought of that before.
Me neither.
Oh, we lost Andy. I guess it was that interesting.
He's like, this shit is dumb.
Andy, just get out of him. He was like, I'm out.
He's like, I really like the smoke monster.
Andy's out in Minnesota. He's a farmer, so sometimes he has a little bit of internet issues where he drops out, and I'm sure he'll jump back in with us.
Yeah.
But let me ask you guys, we're talking about the end. What did they see at the end? There's been a lot of talk about what different people think that kind of either castle or prison or something is that they saw once the monster had been defeated, and it looked like the monster had been kind of guarding that as well as killing people in the void. Any theories? I know there's a lot out there, so have at it.
I was gonna let Delvin go first.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm assuming if I was to, my cynical mind leads me to believe it's kind of like was that the Matrix? No, that was the second Matrix. Reloaded, where Neo met the architect.
Yeah.
My cynical mind makes me think it's something like that, where they're gonna meet the true person behind everything there, and it's not gonna be necessarily a fisticuffs or anything like that, but a conversation on why this is happening and what is exactly going on and how the TVA was really discovered. Kind of like meeting the Wizard of Oz. That's what I think would happen. I'm interested to see, because it seems like there's still a lot of stuff we don't know yet. So it almost feels like how are we going to wrap this up all in an hour, maybe hour and 20? Because I think that usually the series finales go a little longer. So super interested in how they're going to do that and what it's going to lead up to in terms of like, are we going to just have one Loki? Are we going to have two Lokis? I feel like I want to say the end of this show would make perfect sense to lead into What If, because of what If basically is. It's a bunch of multi-timelines and multiverse things that's happening. So I feel like the end of this show should lead into What If, but I'm not too sure.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. What did you think of? Who do you think is? I have a theory that I read, so I'm going to see if you but I figure you guys might know more about it. What did you think, Mike?
I'm kind of hung up on Kang the Conqueror being behind this, so I'm assuming Kang the Conqueror is going to be in that castle. Like I whoever's behind this is in that castle, and I feel like it's probably I feel like it'd be kind of like almost too big of a reveal for it to be Kang the Conqueror in there. So like that's the only part of me that makes me say it's got to be something else, but I can't figure out what that something else might be. So I don't know, but I do believe what Delvin said that or I think Axel said, I don't remember which one he said it now, but that the smoke monster was guarding that place and killing the other Lokis there. But yeah, it's guarding that place. I think we were meant to take that away from it. And then there was something else Delvin said that I wanted to touch on briefly, but I can't remember what it was. Shit, what did he say? Say everything you said again, Delvin. No.
I said that they're gonna meet the architect, essentially.
It was something at the end of what you said.
That is gonna lead into What If?
Oh, yeah. I think I think that's a possibility, but I was also thinking of when you said is there going to be one Loki or two Lokis or something like that? That part too, I feel like it's going to be I'm still kind of hung up on my theory that the Loki that we saw in Infinity War has the knowledge of everything that we've seen on this show. So obviously we're still going to have Tom Hiddleston, right? So because he has to live to play out what we saw in Infinity War. But I do think that Sylvie can and should hang around. Like we should continue to see her as well. All them other ones, yeah, fuck them.
I'm all for them bringing in and out multiverse people and different people as much as possible. That never bothers me. It doesn't affect the character for me. The only thing that ever bothers me in a show is when it lacks permadeath. You know what I mean? Where when anybody just keeps on coming back and coming back, that can get a little bit annoying. But even that, you'll forgive it in a sense. We're going to talk about Black Widow. Like she may or may not come back. I don't think she has to come back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't really think she's a necessity to it. If she did, I wouldn't be too upset. But you lose a sense of meaning when that happens. It wouldn't bother me if Sylvie got her own movie. Hell, they could take classic Loki and have his sad ass do. I could watch 3 episodes of him hanging out. Remember where he said he just hung out for a bunch of years? You know what I mean? Just got bored and decided to give himself up. I thought that whole story was so classic. It was a classic story. It was like a classic tragedy. So I hope they all continue, honestly. And I'm pretty cool with things coming in and out. By the way, I'm sure everyone saw that little miniature frog Thor that was when
Throg.
Yep.
I thought that was so funny. I didn't know what that was first. I had to pause it. Like, the fuck is that little thing?
I read today that that is Chris Hemsworth that's screaming. They got him to come in and record lines, so that is Hemsworth screaming the voice of Throg.
Really?
Oh, wow.
It's kind
Actual
of fun.
Marvel character.
Yeah. Yep. And there actually was a joke in Ragnarok near the beginning, near the Matt Damon scene in Ragnarok, and when Anthony Hopkins is playing Loki, and Thor comes in and says, "Remember that time where you turned me into a frog?" And he's like, "Yeah, funny." So they have referenced it before in the MCU, which I thought was kind of neat.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
I just happened to watch it last week. I would have completely forgotten about it as well.
Okay.
I cut out for a few minutes there. I was gonna ask you, maybe you guys have already talked about this, but I was gonna ask you guys a question. Do you think that old man Loki could be our Loki? They made a big deal early in this series about cast projection, and it's indistinguishable. And old man Loki said, everything exactly right on the timeline until I even fooled the Mad Titan with my
Thanos'
projection."
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said he was able to hide, and the TVA never found him until he left isolation.
That's a good point I didn't think about.
That's I kind of was thinking about that while I was rewatching it, or while I was watching it with my wife actually the first time, and I'm like, I wonder if that's a possibility. I think that could be kind of cool if it is.
Yeah, you know what? I'm totally okay with stuff like that. Like if it is him but different, like you're saying, right? Where they were up to that point the same, and then it like was a diverge. Like there's different kinds of alternate.
But I mean, it really could be the same. It could be the same exact character.
Yeah,
it could, because he could have faked his own death, and we wouldn't have even known it in Infinity War. Is what I'm saying.
That's great. Okay,
like a future version of himself.
Yeah, because that's what that Loki said he did. He said he
did
his best diversion.
Because I went back and rewatched that scene, and he said literally everything was exactly the same until Thanos tried to kill me, and then I faked my own death and ran away. And and he said nobody, and I lived in isolation for so many years after that, so nobody else would have had contact with him.
And the only reason why he got caught is because he went to go look for Thor, because he missed his brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably nothing. I thought that could be a cool, because I don't like I say, you may have talked about some of this when I cut out, but I know there's a lot of other crazy fan theories, but until they actually introduce a main major villain in an MCU series, I'm gonna go with the simplest explanation, and I still think I think it's a bad version of Loki that's causing all this, and I think the kid Loki at some point says, anytime one of us tries to get better, we get sent here. I think Loki is actually behind everything, and like the most evil version of Loki, and he is trying to find a way to take over the galaxy or whatever he's trying to be the king of, like he always says. And anytime one of them tries to do something good, it's not fully formed thought, and I apologize, but what do you guys think about the end? I mean, do you guys think it's Kang or all these other theories that have been thrown around?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about when we said Kang. Delvin, what did you say?
I said some sort of architect. I don't necessarily think it's Kang completely, because Kang, like Mike was saying, is too big of a character, I think.
Yeah.
And they haven't showed us thus far that they're willing to introduce those type of characters in these shows yet. Not saying it's off the table, but I feel like it could be. The Loki thing sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a really interesting concept. That's fascinating. My mind went to, it's not Kang, but it's somebody working for Kang on a high level that will lead to Kang the Conqueror eventually.
Yep, I like that idea too.
I'm sorry, Andy. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you finish this, and I'll go back to what I was going to say. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you guys: do you feel like you need it to be someone recognizable, or like if it's just somebody that we don't know, like if it's and when I say somebody that we don't know, I mean like it could still be somebody that exists within Marvel Comics, but I mean like somebody, like a non-major character or someone who hasn't been in the MCU to this point. Like, do you feel like you need to be like, oh shit, it's so and so, or would you be cool if it's somebody where you don't know who they are, but they just give a great explanation for what's going on?
I will say this: I'll be more cool if it's a Marvel character that we all know and love, as opposed to it being some big time actor playing a role. Like if there's somebody like who's somebody they haven't introduced yet in the MCU. Shoot, there's a lot of Thor characters they haven't introduced. I'm trying to think of somebody off the top of my head. Like, let's say if it's Kang. If it's Kang the Conqueror, we already know who that is. That's more cool. Me knowing it's Kang is more cooler than the actor playing Kang. If that makes sense to me. Like me knowing that it's connected to a specific Marvel character that may lead into more of that character's universe opening up is more cool, far more cooler than me than them just say, hey, here's Tom Cruise, and all of a sudden he's part of the MCU.
I think I would be okay. I think I would be okay with the actor thing if not somebody like The Rock or Tom Cruise, but if it was somebody like in Falcon and Winter Soldier when Julia Louis showed up, that caliber of actor I would like as a new character. So like if it was somebody like, I don't know, Kid Harington or somebody that's like a famous TV actor or a recognizable, that kind of actor, that level. But yeah, somebody that's like I said, and then Marvel, one thing they always nail is casting. So I'm not worried about The Rock showing up or somebody that would overpower the screen. But if it was a well-known character actor type thing, I think that I would like that. But
I want to ask you,
just to be clear, when I was asking that question, I didn't mean someone as in like a notable actor. I meant like a character.
Oh, I see, like a character.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask you, Andy, did you know that Kid Harington is in the MCU now when you said his name?
Oh no, I didn't think it. He's in the Eternals, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Black Knight.
Okay,
so he actually kind of fits in this show.
That's what I was.
Oh, he would. Okay.
Yeah,
I completely forgot. I was just trying to think of somebody from like an HBO show. Now after you say that, I remember that. I forgot that he was in that. I know nothing about the Eternals, so I don't even know. Are they somewhat connected to the Thor universe a little bit, or
big time?
Okay, I've just seen the first trailer and I know nothing. I know I talked to Mike and Axel about this before, but I have a good knowledge of the MCU itself, but comic book lore, I'm not as educated in that. I'm educating myself a lot because my 4-year-old is starting to get into it. So I've learned more in the last year than I have the 43 years previously, besides the TV stuff or the movie stuff. So that's kind of where my base knowledge is.
If somebody from the Eternals movie shows up in the finale, it comes out that one of them is behind this, it would make absolute perfect sense.
Oh, nice. So that's cool.
I was going to say, I like that idea. I'm actually more for that, Mike, to answer your question. I'd rather be introduced to someone new, regardless of the actor or actress.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I like that more than when they do like, hey, what we're going to talk about, Black Widow, when they bring someone back that we have that was not as huge a part before, and they kind of elevate them. But then again, they have a good track record of being able to handle it either way. But for me, at this point in time and with the TV shows, I prefer them to introduce somebody new to us. But I also agree with you guys. I think to introduce a character who we already know is going to be a big bad in a movie is not likely for them to do that in the television show. So the alternate, which is their second in command, which we've seen before, right? That's how we got Thanos.
Yep.
It is, I think, an interesting proposition. Either way, like I've said, I don't really. I think it's cool that fan service stuff exists. I like when characters come back, but for me, I like this 6 episodes that we're watching, and I like for it to fit within the confines of that. So what Andy's saying, if in the end it's actually maybe it's a Sylvie variant that is in there, not a Loki, right? It's another Sylvie. Right, like because
that makes sense.
It's like the biggest bads are the women going against each other. That would be cool. I like that too, because then it keeps us within the story we've seen, and it makes everything that has happened previously feel like it has value, right? And sometimes you can feel like the carpet is pulled out from under you when it's just some big baddie at the end, like that's why a lot of the times the James Bond movies always disappointed me. It's like, why are you doing this? Because I want to rule the world, like that kind of like, that's not, it's just kind of a replacement way of doing that to me. So I kind of dig that. There was something oh wait, there's something I wanted.
I gotta say something before I forget, because my wife, who is a huge fan of this show and is listening to the podcast, and when I said I was coming on, she's like, "I want you to watch the kids so I can come on and talk about it. If I don't mention a couple of her feedbacks, I'm going to be in big trouble." So I was going to say this when I cut out. It was about Sylvie, and because we've talked a lot about Sylvie, and one of my biggest things always was, why was she pruned? We never ever found out why she was pruned. And she is convinced that it's two things. Number one, it's because she's a woman, and Loki is about. They even asked this time, "Have you ever seen a woman Loki?" And they're all like, "No, we haven't." And the second is because she's trying to be a hero. Like, she's sitting there playing with, pretending she's the Valkyries when they kidnap her, and that's right when the thing happens, when the variant happens. It's she's when we're introduced to her character the episode before as the adult. The song that's playing is "Holding Out for a Hero" when she's kicking ass. At the time, it felt really out of place. But they wouldn't play "Holding Out for a Hero" to introduce a villain, I wouldn't think. So I think Sylvie is going to actually become a hero type character here.
Why
Makes
is
sense.
on this podcast, Andy? Why are you and I and Mike and Delvin here?
Well, it's
like, boom.
I lucked out because she took our son up to my mother-in-law's today, so I'm here by myself. So otherwise, she would be booted my ass out of here, and I'd be playing superheroes with Luke, and she would be talking to you guys.
I like all those theories, dude. I like her theory. I like your theory. I like Axel's theory. I like all those, and I hope that's the case. Is that I like that, like, for it being like a another Sylvie or another Loki or anything like that. I like that because it still gives you the wow factor without having to go, here's Kane the fucking Conqueror in a TV show, like, way ahead of time. Whereas, like I said, I feel like that's a little unlikely, but you still get that impact if you find out, like, holy shit, it's not only is it like a maybe not like a bad version of Loki, but like just still Loki, but like normal Loki, as opposed to our Loki has become kind of like a good guy. Like, if this is like Avengers 1 Loki and he's just really powerful and really evil and
Smug.
like smug, like that would be that. I think that would give the same kind of like, oh shit, wow, what a reveal, without having to roll out Jonathan Majors in a TV show. So
yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
And I'm thinking about it too. She had two other points she wanted me to bring up. Number one was that same scene where we see Mjolnir, we see Throg. It's filled. There's also a whole bunch of TV trays. She's a school teacher. The first thing she thought of was a school. We still haven't figured out what that pen, the FDR pen, was all about. The high school. Wondered if there was a tie in there. Yeah, and what was it?
I couldn't tell if those were from like a prison or a school.
And they also look a lot like the TV trays at the TVA as well. So it could be that too. And God, what was the other? There was one other thing. I'll think of it in a second.
They prune a bunch of people while they're getting lunch.
Yeah.
The tray just goes with them.
While you're saying that, I wanted to say, first off, I thought those reasons, I wanted to step back, that they pruned her because she's a woman and because she's a hero. And I think you're so right. And Mike was mentioning, and I was mentioning too, like that she's playing with the Game of Thrones type stuff. And you're right, she was the hero in that. She was not.
She was playing the Valkyrie for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Because you could see if they were to represent our Loki like that, he would be doing the old like hide inside the horse trick, or you know what I mean? Like, he'd be messing with somebody in his games, right? Because also Marvel is always very particular about those details, especially in a character like that. So I thought that was great. I did want to say, when you were talking about the TVA, I forgot to say this, that the episode opens with like everything's normal at the TVA, but we're upside down. And then we go into the room, and that's when we see Sylvie and Ravonna, right? So I just wanted to mention that because I don't know, it just thematically, it felt very like interesting to me that it was kind of telling us like business as usual, except in the timekeepers play. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it just felt very strange to me, but it also made me feel like everything we were seeing happening in that room and in the void maybe wasn't that important in a sense. Like there was still other things going on. I don't know. I just wanted to, I don't know if that makes any sense. I couldn't quite grasp the idea, but I just felt that that was a really interesting way to start the episode. Like, why did we need to see, well, just delivering the mail at the TVA? Like, it's still going on. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought that that was interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
I noticed it too. I thought that was interesting choice because it wasn't even like it was it like the camera like rotated.
yeah, yep.
Like it was noticeable.
Like that. And that, of course,
Yeah.
when you're communicating, whenever you move the camera like that, you're thinking, how does this make the audience feel? Obviously, it makes you feel like you're fucking upside down, right?
Well,
Like,
and part of what I was thinking on that is you notice it in the architecture a lot. They have the hourglass symbol, and it felt like they were turning the hourglass. Is kind of what it felt like to me. Was that because there's hourglasses all over the door for sure.
but that's kind of like it's
And it's like you're turning the
the same shit time again, right? Like,
Yep.
oh, we're doing the same thing again. Because let's not forget. Okay, let's kind of transition now. I don't know if anyone had any particular points, but maybe
Well, I did have one thing I just want to throw out real quick that Andy kind of sparked when he mentioned the why Sylvie got pruned, and I wonder if there's ever been situations, and if this could be how it could play out, where right now we've seen them prune people for fucking up the timeline, like you're supposed to be doing this and you did something different. What if they pruned Sylvie in order to maintain the timeline to ensure that it played out the way it should? Like, because if they hadn't done that, she becomes a good guy or whatever, and they're like, oh, we need her to be evil like all the other Lokis, so let's prune her and take her from her family while she's a kid, and she'll be hell-bent on revenge. Like, I don't know. I think this is the second time I mentioned the idea of them doing things to maintain the timeline as opposed to punishing people for deviating from it. But yeah.
I'm totally with you.
you know what I'm talking about, right? Like when people think about that, when they think about things in reverse, right? Like that's a great thing. But you know what? That's also because it makes me think that's so Disney too, right? Like what is always like as soon as Disney came to Star Wars too, it's like you as an individual are special and magical, and you have the power no matter who you are, what color, what sex, gender, whatever, right? And if anyone tries to stop you from being an individual, they are terrible. And that's kind of the Disney thing, right? And so you can see that the TVA, in a sense, that control, it's like what Sylvia's saying, like when you submit control to someone, you can trust, you say, oh, okay, good, they're doing that to them. But then when they come to you, and the reason why they're stopping her is because she's good, right? Like she's that's interesting. Hey, it also ties into like when Loki said, well, look at what the Avengers did with all of the Infinity Stones.
Right.
What's supposed to happen?
Yeah, that was so weird.
Yep.
I think that's why I think it's like a reverse thing where you're like, what? But then
yeah, it could be a thing where it's like Sylvie's like, what was my Nexus event? And they're like, no, you don't have a Nexus event. You are the Nexus event, and we need you to play out how you play out.
I'm kind of on the same line of thinking as you are, Mike, because I think that's part of why I think Loki is the one behind all this stuff, because he wants things to remain bad so he can stay in charge. He's not trying to fix anything. He's trying to make sure that he doesn't want the good versions of Loki there. He wants the shit to happen. That's what he is. I mean, he's the god of, like Owen Wilson even says it to him one time. He's like, if you're the god of mischief, you're not very mischievous. If we met a Loki that actually is mischievous, I mean, way more than what this one is. I think it would be interesting.
Like that.
What do you guys think about Ravonna? I mean, do you think she knows more than she doesn't know? She's pretending to. What do you? I've rewatched a bunch of stuff, and I saw some things that I thought was interesting. She's always wearing a green suit underneath. Always has a green suit. At one point, Loki, when they're in the hurricane, and I think Owen Wilson or one of the guys says to Loki, "Is this one of you?" And he's like, "No, I'd wear a suit. I would always wear a suit." Do you think she could be a Loki as well, or am I just way out in left field on that?
You just blew my mind.
That makes sense.
Too, Andy.
What's that?
Did Claire tell you this too?
This one was collaborative. This one was both of us working. We were kind of brainstorming while we were watching the other night. So
I love it. I think it worked perfectly too because of the Owen Wilson relationship too. I'm your favorite. What did he say to Loki? You're my favorite. And then he was
Yep.
looking at the other one. That is beautiful.
Man, shit.
I like that.
I like that, man.
The podcast.
Makes sense.
All right, fuck. I'm gonna back out. We can just have Claire replace me on the show.
Seriously. That is
Yeah, I like that shit.
doesn't happen. I hate this show now. That totally works. It totally and because also all of the I don't know, or where are they? Like she has been the trickster, right?
Mhm.
Like she tricked Sylvie, she tricked Owen Wilson, she right like
And I mean, I know that character has a big connection to Kang in the comics, but it would be a good trick on the audience if she had no connection to Kang.
Yeah, and look how self-centered Loki is. That would be the most self-centered shit ever. Where like all the other Lokis you banished to the void.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, that's the most Loki shit that Loki could do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
but it does beg the question, then where does the flashback fall in that, right? Was that actually her in the flashback, or was that Loki's original infiltration into the TVA and he trying to get Sylvie first? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
think that would have been original. Like I feel like that would have been an original Ravonna, and that the one we've been seeing is someone else, which would also be why,
Yes.
like what she said, what is my next event? She's like, I don't fucking know. Like, yeah, you don't know because you're not Ravonna. Like,
that's great shit, dude.
Or the Ravonna, that was and the one we're seeing now is just the enchanted version of her by a Loki or by an enchantress or somebody else. I
don't
could
have
easily
my-
see that too.
I don't have much more mind for you to blow right now, Andy. So you might have to chill out for a little bit.
This should be called Journey into Claire and Andy.
No one wants to see that, Mike. Or Axel, no one wants to see that.
No, I'm sorry, that's us. Very weird. Okay. Oh, hey, this is what I wanted to do. DJ Tim Hines, there was a great, I think it was like IGN or what the hell?
BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed. Okay. They had
Yep.
a bunch of shit in it. And I just want to throw them out. Okay.
Okay.
In the background, in the void, there is a Thanos helicopter from the comic books.
Thanos copter. Yeah. That was a toy and it was in the comics.
Okay, there you go. The Lokis enjoy some boxed Roxy wine, which is from Rock's cart that we saw earlier.
Yes.
Kid
Okay, I
Loki,
didn't see that.
Kid Loki is drinking a high C ecto cooler, the Ghostbuster.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. The green high C. Yep.
Which they got rid of, so that's why it's there.
Yep.
And the Avengers Tower is the void, and you can see it. And it also says, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this properly, Quen. In the comics, Tony Stark sells Avengers Tower to Quang Enterprises and Mr. Griffin, who was working for Kang the Conqueror.
Yes.
It's interesting. In the void, you can also see a giant version of Yellow Jacket's helmet from Ant-Man.
My son pointed out to me.
Yeah.
Oh, we talked about the Thor frog. And I think that's this one I really liked because I like it when they do things that are outside of the MCU in the comics, but the ship from the Philadelphia experiment is there.
Yes.
The USS Eldridge. And I thought that was awesome. And if you know, that's a story. There's a great 80s movie that was made about that.
It's called the Philadelphia Experience.
Yes, it is. And I think they actually did a part 2, which I don't know if I ever saw.
Yes.
But that was a long time kind of like conspiracy theory that the U.S. government was trying to do.
That was a disappearing ship or something, wasn't it?
Cloaking
Yes.
technology, and instead of cloaking it, they caused interdimensional or time travel. So that's pretty cool. And there was a bunch of other ones. Oh, there was one that DJ Tim Hines wanted to mention, which is the appearance of the little Tahitian doll that we've seen in Thor, and we saw also in
The Avengers. Coulson had it, I think, didn't he?
that's it.
Yes.
Coulson had it, and Coulson went to Tahiti in the TV show, Agents of Shield. Spoiler alert.
He kind of went. Yeah.
Goes to Tahiti. So it's basically, I think, in the end, it was tying into the idea, I believe, that Tim is trying to bring up, and Delvin, perhaps you know more about this theory, can say it more eloquently, that like WandaVision, this could be more of an illusion.
Yes.
Like the whole area, the void itself, could be an illusion or a manifestation enchantment.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the Tahiti thing was a big thing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And if you know the story behind it, I don't want to spoil if people want to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but if you know the story behind Tahiti and the whole coaching thing, it's very fascinating, very interesting, and it kind of plays into a little bit into this, for that matter. Because as for those who know, spoilers for Avengers, I guess, Coulson dies in Avengers, but is alive with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the whole subplot is, how is he still alive? And in his mind, he was in Tahiti on vacation. Once you get into what really happened and why does he think he was in Tahiti, it's pretty dark.
Indeed.
Really cool though.
Yes.
All right. So listen, does anyone have any finale predictions before we talk a little bit about Black Widow? I think we kind of talked a lot about him already.
I feel like, yeah, we mostly did predictions.
Yeah,
on
we said we had nothing to talk about this episode and talk for like an hour.
whatever Claire says is what I agree with and predict.
I predict that Claire and she's a teacher too, so you can see she's using that line for the students of America.
Oh, nice.
There was they're not really a theory, just something she pointed out. Now that you mentioned she's a teacher, the artwork in the courts, in the time courts, there's always they focused on it a bunch of times. Every time they walk in and out of the murals on the walls are very close to Chinese propaganda posters, like Chairman Mao posters. If you look up China propaganda, I mean it's really cool when you look at it. That's 100% where they took that from. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we better not say that because we might get our stream canceled.
Well, yeah, but I mean it's definitely based on those pictures. It's kind of neat, interesting touch.
I may have to go out there and do an apology like John Cena had to do a couple of weeks ago.
But not to say, I mean, America has had its fair share of propaganda, and we did, you know. You also,
they use the same. They use the same color schemes and the same kind of just the same design. It's just an interesting. It's not anything. It's just an interesting touch.
yeah,
And I actually had one other thing that I thought was kind of neat. The smoke monster. I think that's the same smoke when they do those reset charges early in the season. When they do those reset charges, a purple smoke comes out. Looks very similar to the smoke monster at the end.
Wow, didn't realize that at all.
I don't know if that's a thing. I wouldn't have known it if I hadn't rewatched a couple episodes, but
oh, that's purposeful because it's like the color. The green is the Loki, right? Like you see the I think that's brilliant, dude, and that totally makes sense too, because you have to think we're going past the timekeepers now. We're going to find what's really at the heart of this, right? What really made all that technology in the TVA. So the fact that it's connected like that is great thematically, but also visually for the art department to pick up on that and do that. Marvel does that so great. Man, Marvel must have color theorists who work there, because they really, especially when you get into this interstellar shit, the color palettes and everything they do is just absolutely fantastic. All right, let's move it along. We're going to talk spoilers for Black Widow. Okay, this is spoilers because I want to talk about it. If you haven't seen it, thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, all that shit. Peace out. Here we go. Black Widow. Mike wanted to know how we feel. Let's, Delvin, why don't you start us off and give us just your overall feelings when the movie was over? What'd you think?
It was just mad at me, honestly. It was just, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I felt like it was a lower middle of the grade MCU movie. If I was to say anything, I felt like it felt more like an earlier MCU movie than it did a modern MCU movie. Like, it didn't feel like the Black Panthers or the Infinity War Endgames or even the Spider-Man things that we've been getting as of late, or even the Ant-Man for that matter. But I feel like kind of that next generation of MCU where it kind of feels like the storytelling is coming all together and they're running on all cylinders. Even if it's not a 10 out of 10 story, you feel like you're going somewhere with the story. You're kind of satisfied with the ending and things like that. The villains are satisfying and things like that. This kind of feels like a Gen 1 MCU movie where the villains is kind of just there. Like, all right, okay, that's the villain. Yeah, like I'll give you a perfect example. Iron Man 2 kind of had that problem where the heroes outshine the villain. Iron Man 3, for that matter, kind of had that problem. The second Thor movie had that problem. The Gen 1 MCU movies had a big problem with that, with the exception of Avengers, of course, where the heroes would constantly outshine the villain and they became kind of the star. Even though that's a good thing, but you need to have a villain that you want to see lose. And
Incredible
to me,
villain.
this movie didn't give us that.
Yeah, that's a great point, dude. I think you really distilled a lot of my feelings too. I enjoyed this for a family movie night with my son and my wife. After we got past my son, usually like we get 2 minutes into a movie and then I pause it and I go, oh, I have a phone call. And I pick up my phone and I do this. I go, oh yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did we order the Lachlan Talks during the whole movie version of because I'm trying to pay attention to the dialogue and Lachlan keeps on asking questions. And because the kid does not, I don't know if your kids do that, guys, where it's like, why is it, but daddy, why? And I'm like, I can't. And my wife I'm kind of patient about it because I'm used to answering questions about TV all the fucking time, right? That's me. I'm the guy. She's asking me questions. What is Game of Thrones? Is that his sister? So once we got past that, I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I agree, Delvin. Bottom quarter of the MCU for me. Not bad though. I thought it was fun. I like the way I like the whole family thing. You know what I mean? Like
That was cool.
He bombed the daughter. Oh, she's alive. Oh, like the father. I liked what's her name? Florence Pugh. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yep.
First of all. And no offense, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but man, is she hot. Oh my God. She is just
what a world we live in when you say, man, is she hot? And you have to preface that by, I hope this doesn't offend anyone.
Well,
Fuck?
Since you brought it up, Mike, should I bring up my concern?
Yeah.
Did you guys notice this? I brought up the mic and he noticed it immediately when I saw it. There are a gratuitous amount of butt shots of Scarlett Johansson in this movie.
Dude, I was sitting there. I was saying that because I was trying to make my son laugh. He's kind of like noticing girls now. So I was just like, butt shot, butt shot, butt shot. Yeah. And I don't want to complain about it too much either. Because it's a nice butt. And they showed way more of Scarlett Johansson's butt than of Florence Pugh's butt. And I liked her.
Anyone.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's like gratuitous. It's like an insane amount.
I actually went back to the theater yesterday. It was the first time I went back to the theater, and on the big screen, it's even more noticeable. I mean, it is in your face all the time.
I have to go see this in the theater now.
Yeah.
Why did I think that? I'm like, maybe I should go see it in theater, man. Like, damn.
Okay, well, and I had to say it. Yeah, it was. I mean, I like her. I think she's an amazing actor. too. Like, no shit, she's gorgeous. And it's just, I love looking at her face. I mean, this is why people are in the movies. All right. But did you guys ever see, I'm losing, Andy's going to remember for me, the horror movie that she was in. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about?
Who's
That's
Scarlett
Scarlett?
Johansson of?
Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Wasn't she
Oh.
in Midsummer or one of those?
Midsummer.
She was in that.
I
Yes.
hated that
Yeah.
movie.
Who was she
I
in
think
that?
she's the lead. I think
Oh,
she's the
really?
lead, isn't she? Yep.
Yes.
Oh yeah. You
I
hate
hated that
shit.
movie. I did not like that movie at all.
one of my favorite movies
Oh, I thought that shit was dope, Delvin.
I hated it.
years. But I can understand if you're not, you got to be in the, if you're not into it, you're not into it. You have to buy into that film. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
Mhm.
agree.
So I can understand that. But I thought she was brilliant in that movie. And I thought that she made Black Widow for me. If I have to say the one thing I loved about this film was her and the Stranger Things guy. Stranger Things, that's what I'm going to call him from now on. Stranger Things guy, funny as hell. And I love the arm wrestling scene. The funny shit was good in this. Oh, you're like my so many pockets. What am I going to do with all these pockets? That was so cute. But
Yeah.
overall, not the best. You know, it kept it going, but it was also, again, like maybe 40 minutes too long.
40 minutes. It's like half a movie too long.
I mean, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes
No,
long.
yeah, I'm just fucking with you, but yeah.
Hour and a half. That's me. I'm hour and a half guy.
I'm kind of in the same. I'd say like it was good, but it wasn't. I think Delvin said it perfectly when you're like it was kind of like the earlier MCU ones that were good, but they're not a lot different than what we've been having the last 3 or 4 years. I'd say lower third maybe. I also part of it when I was watching it and like in the first 10 minutes, she's sitting there watching Moonraker, notoriously one of the goofiest Bond movies. I'm like, you put that there for a reason. So my expectations were lowered a lot just because if they're not, they're basically saying we're not trying to be Skyfall, we're shooting for Moonraker. So my expectations were lowered quite a bit just by seeing that. So I'm like, I just enjoyed it for what it was. The thing I loved the most was just going back to the theater. It was in a 200-seat theater and there was about 10 people in there. And I forgot how much I missed that. That was amazing.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, otherwise I'm basically in the same kind of feeling as you guys where I enjoyed it. It was fun, but probably not one I'll rewatch a lot.
Did everybody, Delvin, where did you see it?
I saw it at home. I paid Disney, what is it, Disney Premiere? Because
Yep.
I felt like I was going to go see it in the movie theaters originally, but then I said, okay, it's $30 to see it at home, and everybody at my house wants to see it, so that literally is cheaper than going to the theater. And I already had popcorn here, and I already had chips here, so I just I kind of made it a double feature now. I watched that movie, then right after that, I watched Infinity War.
Nice. That's what tomorrow my son and I are going to do. Oh, what did he call it again? Marvel Movie Madness Marathon Monday
Nice.
I like it. I like it.
too. And we're going to watch, he wants to watch Infinity War and Endgame. And I was like, okay, we'll do that. Mom's away. So yeah, that's what I thought but that's what this was, right? Like, I think that's why this kind of stuff works for Disney. This was a great like family movie, or and it was about family. I mean, violent family movie, but it was about that's the stuff I liked. I liked the family stuff, the little subterfuge where Scarlett Johansson and her mommy tricked everybody with the fate. That was
That was great. That scene was great.
cool. And I actually did like the touch that when the super bad Russian took off the mask, it was the daughter that she.
I called that within 15 minutes of watching the movie.
Oh, okay.
Like legit within 15 minutes.
You see, that's how they trick me, because I'm always thinking, oh, this could be someone from the comic that I don't know, so I just don't even guess.
That was one thing I liked about it, that they actually did some spy stuff with her, because we really haven't gotten, besides that first Avengers movie and a little bit in Iron Man 2, she really hasn't done that much spy stuff. She's kind of just been fighting people with Captain America or with other people. So
Yeah.
I like that they did some of the Jason Bourne, James Bond type of stuff that they incorporated into. I wish they would have done more of it, actually. not just the action, the actual spy stuff. I like.
I will say this. There are two things that annoyed me about this movie a lot. And it's the fact that one, every 5 minutes, they were reminding you, she's an Avenger. She's an Avenger. You know, that's Black Widow. She's an Avenger. Like, how many times are you going to tell us that she's an Avenger? We all know this. Stop telling us this. It's not like she has superpowers or anything like that. She is on the same level as Hawkeye, just a regular person who just happens to be an Avenger. It's cool that we know this, but you don't have to keep saying it over and over again.
So too, right? Like, remember, her sister said to her, you know, when one of the important ones comes, and they said something like that to Sam too, in a Winter Soldier, like one of the comes.
Yeah, and she said something about the space alien with the hammer shows up or something. She said didn't mention it, but I like that. I like when they make those kind of mentions.
Yes, that was great.
Yeah.
She said, I don't think the space alien with the hammer needs to take an Advil after a fight.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, that's something too, which is always gets me with these movies, and where you really have to suspend your disbelief when it comes to Black Widow and Hawkeye, because I can accept Thor being in a huge car accident and it flips over 18 times and he's okay. He's fucking Thor. But ninja training is not going to save you from a car crash like that. Like, it's not like she knows how to duck. You know what I mean? Like, they thought,
Yeah.
you know, there's no car crash surviving training school. You're fucked. You know what I mean? Blast goes in your eye. You know, you can't predict that. So that I kind of, you know, that I think they had this similar problem in Falcon and Winter Soldier, where the super soldier punches someone and they go flying across the fucking room, but their whole chest is not caved in. You know what I mean? But then when the soldier does it, you're like, they're a super soldier. So it's a little bit, that part of it is I just wanted to mention that, but I thought that was a little, you know, even, and I think that's why they talk about it all the time too, because it's like you still kind of, it's almost like the umbrella powers of the Avengers cover her.
Yeah.
Through osmosis, she is some superhero. But yeah, I thought, I don't know. Oh, can I just say one thing too? The starting off, and I know I have Nirvana tattooed on my body. Yes, I do. But
I thought of you the second this started playing in the theater, Axel. I'm like, oh, Axel's going to want to talk about this.
millennial breathy girl going, load up on guns, bring guns. I wanted to vomit in Kurt Cobain's coffin for himself. I hate it.
Kurt Cobain, he didn't make the song like that.
That's what I'm saying. He is dead in his own coffin, vomiting on himself.
But you want to vomit in his coffin.
Yeah.
That makes it weird. You're gonna vomit in his coffin.
I don't know, man. I'm just going off. I'm just
poured out a little liquor for him. Barf in his coffin.
I couldn't take it. It was terrible. Marvel, you can do better than to ape Zack Snyder. Like, that is like a Zack Snyder cheap Hallmark bullshit like thing to do, and I agree. It really like, I don't know. Sorry, I had to say it. Like, you know what? I would have rather just say fucking Smells Like Teen Spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you had done that, I would have been like, okay, Marvel, fucking hell. Okay. Use Kurt. I don't actually. Did they do a slower version of Teen Spirit on the MTV Live Unplugged? I think they
did.
Did they?
I don't think so. I don't think they.
You don't want
was it Unplugged?
Fucking sick of that song. I think.
Yeah, because I think there was a period there where they never played it because they were sick of it or something. I don't think it's on Unplugged.
And they did Smells Like Teen Spirit. He turned his back to the audience. He jumped around like a jerk off for a couple of seconds. Then he went to the mic and did the whole song like this, and just didn't move the entire time. And then when it was over, he said something like, "There you go," and then they moved on to the next song.
Yeah.
They had fun and they jumped around and they got back to having fun. But it's just like anything. It's like Radiohead. You know that Radiohead song, My Iron Lung? That's written about the song Creep, because it's like they couldn't go anywhere without that dumb song following.
Mhm.
I got into music. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, I hated that, and you can do better, Marvel. But otherwise, they didn't do it again. So that was good.
So I fall in the same place that you guys do. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. I said in my video, I put it in the bottom third. It was serviceable. I enjoyed aspects of it. I thought there were some really good fight scenes in it. Like Axel said, I thought it had some really good funny moments. The ones you mentioned, I thought David Harbour was great in it. I thought Florence Pugh was great in it. I like you didn't mention this one, but I liked when she pointed out like, why you always land in that pose? And then later,
Yeah, that
she
was
does
good.
it, and I was like, ugh. Like this was so gross. So I really like the pose thing. But my biggest takeaway, I think, from this movie, because you can walk away and be like, I really love the plot, or I really love this actor's performance in it. The thing that I take away from this the most is the disgusting amount of plot armor that happens in this movie. Like, you got to suspend disbelief when you're watching a comic book movie, right? But not to the point of where I actually am like audibly saying things like what the fuck is this, or how convenient, like at my screen. And there were a good 4 to 5 instances of that in this movie that kind of frustrated me, because it was like after the first one or two, you might be like, oh, okay, but it's almost like they got bigger and more noticeable as the movie went on. So like I think early there was a scene where I think it was early where she like falls off a building and just like fucking like lands.
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
the same fall killed someone else, and then she hit like 3 different things on the way down and was fine.
And all the falling at the end there too, when the ship is crashing and she falls and hits like 5 different things.
Yes.
And
That
it got
was
really James Bondish.
that was one of the other ones that I was thinking of. The one that I think pissed me off the most was when they were breaking Red Guardian out of prison, and they're in that helicopter, and Yelena, like they're pelting this helicopter with bullets. They're like going through the helicopter and out the other side, and Yelena just casually walks over, grabs a gun, sits in the open doorway.
Yeah.
You see the bullets going across the helicopter, heading toward her, and I guess they just decided like, we're not gonna shoot her, we're just gonna skip over, and then continue. Like, oh my god, it was so bad. I'm like how she fucking did not get shot was ridiculous. That was
She has the force field on.
that was the one that bothered me the most. Like what the fuck is this? And then a couple other things. I didn't really like when she goes to try to kill what was his name, Driscoll. Fuck, the bad guy.
Yeah.
When she goes to try to kill him, and she's like, why can't I kill you? She's like, I'll have a chip. He's like, well, it just so happens that if you smell me, you can't kill me.
Yeah.
I said, what the fuck?
That was stupid.
I was like, that's the most convenient shit. Yeah, he's like, oh, if you can smell me, you're fucked. I was like, what? This is the pheromones?
What is he doing? Just passing gas in the room? You can smell me, so you can't kill me.
Yeah,
That's why I was gonna say, that's why I was saying that when they referenced the goofiest James Bond movie, that's why I said that's the kind of stuff you'd see in some of those Roger Moore James Bond movies. And I was like, that's my expectations were lowered so much by that that stuff was just crazy.
The pheromones in the gun copter really did it for me. And then I also didn't like how, because I was really looking forward to the ending, because when they were like, okay, we're going to the red room and we're gonna fucking find this guy, I'm like, bet this should be fun. And then the fucking widows are waiting in line to attack Natasha. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like you can literally, like, sometimes they shoot those things where you can't really tell, but you can see the other widows standing in the background, like with their arms folded, like, yeah, go ahead, girl. Yeah, you got. I'm next. I'm next. Like,
Very, very polite killers.
man, I'm like,
Yeah.
because when I saw them all in that room, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be dope. Like whenever they fight all these, like, there's like 20, 30 widows in here. This is gonna be awesome. Nope. One at a time. One at a time.
There's got to be a movie where someone like the first person steps out, and then a guy just puts his hand on his shoulder and goes, "Look, let's just all rush the motherfucker. Why are we taking?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Like, you go for the knees, I'll go for the head, bro. We'll have him down.
Yeah.
I had the movie ranked higher up until like the gun copter and the pheromones and the widows waiting in line. Like I had the movie. I was enjoying it far more. By that point, I'm like, okay, now this is starting to actually kind of irritate me.
Oh, there were several moments that irritated me in this movie. Oh my!
I just
God.
ran off 5, so
It's just like, I know people were very upset about what is his name, Taskmaster, because this is a very different version of Taskmaster than the comic book version. The people were expecting a comic book version, which is fine. I like the MCU did something different. That wasn't my problem with it at all. My problem with it was the resolution behind it, and the big surprise that I figured out within 15 minutes, because they kept mentioning it. They kept saying, "Oh, his daughter's dead. His daughter's dead."
Yeah.
Every time you know you killed his daughter, right? You know you didn't kill him. You killed his daughter. Okay. I said, they kept saying it to the point where like, okay, that Taskmaster has to be his daughter, without a doubt. So then when they did the big reveal for that, I'm like, okay, knew that was going to happen. And then they have the big fight and everything like that. Then at the end where I guess they're back on the ground and stuff, and she releases the magic smoke that cures their mind on her. Why wouldn't
it
Taskmaster?
sounds dumb when you say it that way, Delvin.
Why wouldn't Taskmaster still want to kill her? She blew up half of her face. Like, what? How does sorry? I'm sorry. How did that absolve you for what you did? Like, you tortured me. I'm in this predicament because of you. Like, why is this okay? Now we're friends. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no like. Even if she was under mind control for years, and she helped get her out of that mind control, that's cool. But you still owe these hands for what you did. Because if you wouldn't have blew me up, this wouldn't be a problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think, you know what? When I'm thinking about this, and I have to say too, I actually enjoyed the final sequence when they were escaping it and flying through the air, and I really thought that was fun. But the whole sequence between Ray Winston, not is it Ray Winston? I always get the other guy mixed up. That is
Yeah,
Ray.
I think that's who it is. Yeah.
I get mixed up with the other tall English guy who was in Dexter. That's a different Winston or something. I don't remember.
Who are you talking about? Who's Ray Winston? Who is this?
That's the main bad guy, the head guy.
Yeah.
I thought you said he was. Wasn't that guy short?
No, but there's another guy who has a similar name.
Okay. As soon as you said a tall, I'm like, no. I was like, now I don't know who he's talking about.
Ray Winstone.
Yeah, Ray Winston. Yeah. I thought because they didn't explain it soon enough, because she's standing there and his daughter's in the corner. Then there are girls. It's like they always had an audience and you're waiting for her to kill him and she's not doing it. But they take like 10 minutes for him to explain the nose thing so they can get it there. So like you're saying too, Mike, there was a lot of that in this movie. I wanted to bring up this fact, this idea. I have a theory about this movie. My theory about this movie is that they actually wrote this a really long time ago. And I think that they didn't think that a female fronted MCU movie would be successful. Then they did Captain Marvel. We had a lot of change in this country, Me Too, all that. So they brought out the old script, freshed it up a little bit, called up Scarlett, called up some stars, had a blast making a Marvel movie. Because I agree, it plays like the earlier Marvel movies in so many ways. It really weird to me, because I was thinking about watching all the Marvel movies in order with my son before this movie started, right? Because I was thinking like, oh, where does this happen, you know? And then while I'm watching it, I'm like, gosh, if I was going to show this, really does kind of, it belongs earlier in the timeline. If they had, then it would seem like it was made earlier. But I just think that it was not great. But it never, I'll say this to defend it a little bit. It never annoyed me too much because they did keep it moving pretty well. I'll hand it to him there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I have to admit, I'm an old man. I'm 47 years old. People watching this. I fell asleep when they were at the house chatting, and then I woke up when they came and got them. Like
I love that part of the house, by the way.
Yeah, I did too.
but I fell asleep a little bit, so I'll watch it again.
It was a good scene.
So
I think you're right that it's been around a while. I mean, one of their head writers was one of the people that wrote the screenplay was one of the showrunners on WandaVision. So I'm guessing that she got the WandaVision job because she had already written the script. Be my guess.
I think they spruced it up too, because don't forget, they do, like, from my understanding is they do in reverse. So like in TV, you all sit in a writer's, well, actually I should say they reverse a film. They do it like TV. They all sit around in a writer's room. They come up with the idea for these films, and then they task someone with writing it.
Yeah.
The person didn't really write the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah.
some respects they did, and they give them different varying degrees of the director to mess with it. But I do think that the beats of this and the idea of her family and blah, blah, blah was an old idea. It just seemed old to me. And it's, yeah, I just don't, I mean, I guess it got fucked up with COVID and everything too, the release date and all that. And it serves as a bridge to the next phase. But in many respects, I just felt like this was perfect to watch on like Disney Premiere. But it did not feel at all like the scale of Infinity War or like Civil War or even the Spider-Man movies, recent Spider-Man movies. My last thing to say is this. You guys think this would have been better as a 6-episode TV series on Disney Plus?
Yes.
Give you more time to get characters, right?
Yep.
Make the espionage elements bigger and better.
Yeah. Hey,
Tell a
I
more
got a
creepy
question.
story.
I have a question, Delvin. You maybe can answer this. Do you know is the character, and I can't think of what his name is. He was on Handmaid's Tale. The guy that plays her, the guy that gets things for her, like her guy, the guy that gets the plane for and the helicopter. Is that a recurring character? Do you know?
In the comic books, yes.
Okay.
I don't remember the name, but yes.
I would really like to. I liked him a lot in that. I hope he returns in other movies. I
thought, Andy, that and maybe I'm wrong about this because I do not know as much. Like I know about the comics, but it's spotty.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am.
I thought that he was when I saw him pop up after a while, I thought, didn't Tony Stark wasn't there like a person who worked for Stark Industries or something that was very much like them, then left, that was like this character? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, for Tony, they had Happy Hogan who did this same kind of stuff. If I remember correctly, Happy Hogan was kind of his.
I thought in the comics there was like a younger kid who like left Stark and became like a supplier but
in the comics,
yeah, but
there's a few like that. There's I want to say Justin Hammer.
I was about to say like Hammer from what was he in the second Iron Man or the third one?
Yeah, Iron Man 2. Yep.
He was like that.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they would bring him back. I always like that actor.
I do too.
Oh yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah, Rockwell. Yep.
Yeah,
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the guy that we're talking about here from Handmaids, Sam Rockwell, by the way, worked at World of Video. He delivered movies.
Oh wow,
That's cool. Video one time with like a bunch of famous people. I can't remember who it was.
He's really short in person, isn't he?
They're all really short.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Everyone's really short to Axel. Come on, man.
Well, that's true. Good point. Good point.
Except Quentin Tarantino. That motherfucker is not short. Whatchamacallit, but Sam Rockwell came in and he was with a couple, I can't remember. It was one famous like New York guy and a couple of really beautiful actresses. It was like 5 of them, and they were all like character type actors, and they came into World of Video one day and he was showing them around, and he didn't tell them that he worked there before he became a big actor. So I walked over to him and I go, "Hey Sam, what's happening?" And he's like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I go, "What are you here? Oh, you here to pick up? Because you used to work as a delivery guy here." And he goes, "He's fucking right." I loved working here. He goes, is Mitch here, who's the owner? And he talked to Mitch for a little while. But I wasn't trying to put him on the spot. I was trying to like meet him.
You were doing that thing you do, Axel.
I was just trying to meet him at an equal level and make them feel like they were the out, like, you know what I mean? And they kind of
Yeah.
I was doing, you know what I mean? Like we're the cool guys here. We're the video store guys, Sam. But that was really funny. That's all my story. That's all I got. But anyway, that dude, is he really English?
Yeah.
From The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah, I've heard him speak outside of like not being in a film or something like that.
That's always the number one thing I hate, when they make English people have American accents.
Well, so now you hate Luke.
Yeah.
I like it when people, they like, America is the melting pot. Why does everyone have to have like,
Yeah.
I grew up with people with a lot of different accents. So that's kind of like part of what America is to me. I've never understood why we have to have everyone talk like they're from the Midwest or something, you know?
I always find it interesting when movies move to a location of a foreign country, but somehow everyone there still speaks English. I always find that to be really weird.
Very
like
common.
Yeah, it's incredible. It now that I've mentioned it, if it's not something you've noticed before, there's gonna be anybody who's listening or something like that. You will notice the fuck out of that now, because it happens all the time.
Like, why is everybody in Dubai speaking English? Like, there's nobody out here.
Everybody in Latvia spoke English.
One of my favorite things where they handle that problem in The Hunt for October, when most of it takes place on a Russian sub. And at the very beginning of the movie, they're all talking in Russian, and the camera zooms way in on Sean Connery's face, and mid-sentence, everything switches to English. So then you basically are like, okay, we know these guys are talking Russian, but you don't have to read subtitles the whole time. I mean, if you're going to do it, I like that they at least did that. And then when they finally meet up with the Americans later, then they're talking in Russian again. But yeah, it is super annoying that everybody speaks English everywhere. It's odd if you don't know how to check out from reality.
Yeah.
Everyone has the Star Trek Universal Translator stuck in their ear, you know?
Yeah.
That October shit, I loved that shit. When I saw that in the movie theater, Andy, because that was when I was younger and I was thinking I wanted to be a director. I want to make movies.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, this movie cares.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
You know?
That's what made me think of it when you said that.
Well, the most egregious bad accent ever is fucking Charlie Hunnam in Sons of Anarchy, who has a fucking amazing accent and an amazing voice. And he does the worst English accent, American accent ever. And they had a whole subplot of Ireland. They could have just had it that he grew up in Ireland.
Yeah.
Not have affected the plot at all.
Mm-hmm.
It would strengthen the plot. It would have strengthened all the Irish shit. And it would have made sense of why he can't pronounce shit, even though he grew up in SoCal.
Oh, man.
Say SoCal. Like he sound, I don't know. Okay, I could go off.
Andrew Lincoln.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Oh,
American
on The Walking
accent.
Dead?
In Walking
Yeah.
Dead. Coral. Coral. Coral.
British people find it much easier to do a Southern accent. When they do an American accent, they find it easier to do like a Southern or like a Texas drawl, like talk like this a little bit. It's easier to talk, you know, like I'm an American.
That's how they make fun of us. That's how most
Right.
people make fun of us.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's the parody of America, like this Southern accent carrying the big gun. So I'm quite sure that's a common joke that's played out there.
Well, that's like when Americans do a British accent. And they're like, "Can I have my tea?"
Exactly.
All right,
Oh, boy.
I'm just fucking talking now, but this is fun anyway. I like that part of it. Anyway, everybody, thanks for listening. Anyone have anything else to say before I seemed like it was appropriate to end the show?
Oh, yeah. I got to run anyway. So, yeah, no, I'm good.
We'll be back for the finale next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for downloading. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe to the Delvin Cox Experience. Subscribe to One Mic. Go over to DVRpodcast.com. That's me. go to and eat some stuff from Andy's farm. And also, Lego is awesome. And we didn't put Mike to sleep talking about Lego the whole episode, before the episode began. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
Later.